My partner of almost 20 years has both ADHD and autism, which comes with its own unique set of challenges. Over 70% of neurodiverse relationships end in divorce or separation, which just isn't an option for me and my buddy. In this video, I'm going to share 5 accommodations I've made as the partner of somebody with ADHD and ASD in order to keep our relationship happy and healthy. Chris and I have been together for almost 2 decades, and pretty early in the time we were together, he got diagnosed with ADHD. But only recently, in the past year, have we found out that he also has autism. So this has come with a lot of challenges and adjustments for me in terms of how I'm thinking about things and how I approach different topics with him and just generally how we live life together. So one of the benefits of getting Chris diagnosed was that we actually had access to more information, especially for me. I like to research things, so I got a chance to go online, find out a lot of information about what was going on in his brain that he couldn't put into words and tell me himself. I have figured out some things along the way that have worked, and so that's what I want to share today. So something that's kind of entertaining is how we define quality time together. For Chris, this could just look like us being in the same room, working on completely separate things, not actually talking to each other, and that's time together. But for me, a lot of times I think of it as actually doing something, like going somewhere, going out to eat, meeting up with friends, doing something together, or even just like watching the same movie together and chatting once in a while we're watching it. Whereas he just feels like sharing the same space means we're spending time together. Once I understood that a little bit better, it was a lot easier to understand why he might feel like, oh, we just spent, the entire day together, where I'm like, oh, we spent 7 hours working, but we were on separate computers and very rarely taking breaks to talk to each other. To him, that meant we spent the entire time together because we were in the same space. So one thing that Chris does that I think is really funny and also pretty special is that he likes to take naps sometimes in the afternoons. And most of the time I'm not ready to take a nap at that time, but he wants me to be near him while he's taking a nap. And so he'll set up this whole blanket and pillow set up next to the bed so that I'm able to hang out there, do some work or do whatever, relax, read a book while he's taking his nap. And he sleeps much better then. And it's also just a good reminder that he's my buddy and that he likes having me nearby. So something that I've learned is that dates, milestones that might be really important to many people, such as birthdays or anniversaries, they're just not important dates most of the time for Chris. And I think based on things I've read that it's also the same for a lot of other people with autism. Birthdays and anniversaries can just come and go. And actually, it's pretty funny. Chris, for probably the first 5+ years we were together, my birthday is on the 7th and he thought it was on the 17th for the longest time. So my birthday would come and other people would say happy birthday to me and he'd be like, why are they saying happy birthday to you? And I'm like, because it's my birthday. He'd be like, no, your birthday is on the 17th. So I was like, no, it's actually the 7th. So we missed some of those. But I came to realize that the actual number, the date didn't really matter that much. So another example was I went on a trip recently, and when I came back, Chris had set up this huge scavenger hunt in our apartment. I mean, I arrived back to our apartment at probably 5:30 in the morning. So he had obviously set this up way before that. He had gone to bed, and when I got back, he was still sleeping. So, but at 5:30 in the morning, he gets up out of bed and he's like, I have a card for you. And this card was the start of like 12 or 13 different spots around our apartment where there were more clues for me to find, different gifts for me to find. All of these gifts were really personalized and special, but it was just, again, out of the blue, seemingly just out of the blue, just because he was thinking of me. He was, thinking of something nice to do, not connected to, again, anything specific, but just because he's awesome. A really special part of autism is that things that could be really important for people are not necessarily that important, but it's not because people with autism don't care or that they don't, feel attachment to others or want to do nice things for other people, but because sometimes they just don't really find the importance of that specific day. And I think Chris has said to me a couple times, like, why only celebrate you on one day? Like, it could be, much bigger than that, or many days, or just every day of the year there's something to celebrate. So that thought process is really awesome. adjusting my expectations, I guess, would be the easiest way to say it. So other people might get, flowers for their birthday. People might create parties specifically for anniversaries or things like that. But those dates for us aren't necessarily the important ones. And those aren't the ones that Chris will necessarily make an event of. And I guess changing expectations, maybe also adjusting how we celebrate certain milestones together is an accommodation that I've made, but we figured out a way to make it work for us. Also, having expectations about keeping on track or focus with topics of conversation is also something, especially not only with autism, but with ADHD, that can be challenging. So we have a lot of conversations that start off with a certain topic, and that's what I want to talk about, but it'll go off in a totally different direction. And most of the time, that's okay. It's just something that if I really need to get a certain point across, I'll kind of have to steer the conversation back. But a lot of times, the bonus flip side is our conversations can be completely hilarious and random. And I laugh a lot. It's just really something that's entertaining often. But if I really have something I need to get across, I have to just make that very clear. Making sure that Chris's day-to-day products are consistent and always available to him. So what I mean by this is that he has certain things like shampoo, conditioner, body wash. He really likes his specific brands of things, and he doesn't like change. So I need to always be a step ahead of this. I have to make sure, that we not only have the stuff he's using in the bathroom, but we also have backup supplies. So what I do is I order things. I always have at least one extra set besides the one that he's currently using to make sure that he has access to that, because this is just one way that he doesn't have to give a lot of thought to things that he should be able to have a predictable routine with. So things like his Dove body wash, he loves that because it's really good for his skin. He also has a certain shampoo and conditioner set that he likes because, as he's mentioned before, he has some skin issues, and so sometimes his scalp will get dry. So we've tried many things, but he's found that this particular set works really, really well. But we're living overseas and this has to be imported, so I have to plan ahead for this. Make sure that we always have it available and ready for him so that he can be comfortable and not get itchy, because itchiness really throws him off and throws his day off. So with autism, there's certain things that Chris really likes for certain periods of time. And so with foods, one thing that I've also done to adjust is to stop asking so many questions about it. I used to ask him, he would be eating something for weeks on end, and then suddenly one day he decided he didn't want to eat it anymore. And I used to ask a lot of questions and be like, well, when are you going to want that again? Why aren't you eating that anymore? Like, what happened, essentially? And those questions would totally throw him off, and he didn't love those questions. So I had to make adjustments to just when the time came, and all of a sudden his love affair with that particular food was changing and shifting. I had to be fine with that and just be like, okay, we won't order it again for a while. Thanks for telling me, or just to notice even. And when it just sat in the fridge and eventually, the days were ticking on that particular food, sometimes I would mention it, and if he didn't want to eat it, he didn't eat it. So I just had to roll with that, and that's an accommodation that I also made too. A quick side note with food is that people with ADHD and autism regularly forget to eat and drink. So something that I do as a partner is to give reminders regularly. So when I'm not in the same space as Chris, this might be a text message and just being like, hey, did you eat lunch yet? Don't forget to eat something soon, because otherwise he will just go the entire day without eating, especially when he's focused on one of his special interests. Giving time for special interests. So this is one that was really challenging for me to understand. But after Chris got his diagnosis with autism, it helped me a lot, because when I researched and understood about special interests, I could see he fit that mold completely. So he gets so immersed into certain topics that honestly at times I thought were kind of pointless. So one example would be when he was obsessed with orchards for a while. So when I say obsessed, he was reading about them. He bought a bunch of books about cherry trees and about orchards in general. He took online classes to learn about cultivating orchards and how to have the most space effective and space efficient orchards. And the whole time, while I was interested, and I love trees and I like walking around in orchards, but the whole time I'm like, we're living in a gigantic city. We don't own any property. And even if we do own property, where are you going to get space for an orchard? Like, what's going on here? So I had to kind of understand, and it took me time, especially with that particular topic, understand that this is just something he was really interested in. He was intensely interested in it for a short, I mean, not a short period of time. He still loves orchards, but it was for several months, and talking about it on a daily basis, talking about it very regularly, when I thought we should be talking about other things, or I would, sometimes try to cut off the conversation, which would also frustrate him. But now I understand better that was because this was a special interest for him, and that a lot of people with autism have special interests. They become really passionate about them for a certain period of time, but an accommodation that can be made is just listening and being excited to hear about it and understanding them sharing it with you, is because for Chris, for example, he wanted me to be part of that. Other special interests that he had were topics like within education, which fit very well into the business that we were running at the time. He spent a lot of time researching educational practices. That one was one that we really could share a lot of things together with. Another special interest he had was boxing. Boxing was another one that initially I was not very into. So I didn't grow up watching boxing, knew nothing about boxing, but he was really, really into boxing, watching video highlights of people in boxing fights, actually starting to learn boxing himself. So one of the things that I also did was to try to get more interested in it. So boxing, after I went to some of his boxing classes, it looked pretty fun. So it's actually something that I tried too. And it's not something I can guarantee I never would have gotten into boxing if it were not for Chris's interest in it. But I wanted to be able to share it with him and understand it. And it was great exercise too. So it actually got to the point where we got to box together. When we were in New Zealand, we got to work together with the same coach, and we got to actually be sparring partners for certain things. And it was a lot of fun, but it all happened because I started to become more used to special interests that Chris had, and also just understanding that there are ways that I could share in those, whether it was listening or whether it was actively trying them out myself, or just being supportive of the fact that he needed a lot of time for this too. But on a side note, his special interests and the way that he spends his time, I can say that usually, this might be partially his ADHD, he can finish the amount of work that most people would finish in an 8-hour day in probably 2 or 3 hours some days. So he had a lot of time for special interests sometimes too. So that's also something that I've learned a lot about, but is really special. So if you have somebody who's got ADHD or autism or both, like Chris, what are some ways that you make accommodations for them, and what's worked for you? Drop some of your ideas in the comments. I would love to hear them, and I'm excited to share more of my thoughts in the future. So if you found value in this video or enjoyed it, be sure to like it. And also, if you want to learn more about ADHD or autism, be sure to subscribe to our channel. My cheeks are so red.
Puppy dog.
I feel like my face is so red.